pace, and they need to do it soon.
A lot of worrying signs, to be honest. Not just in the rounds. Cutler trying to find something with the Desert Eagle, but if I know the T player's right, I'm not going to allow him. But as I say that, of course, he finds a double. That's how it is. Henny locking down the rest with the P250. No worries from him as he cleans it up. 4K for him.
Holding his ground quite nicely there. The 2 opening op shots, and then knows the pressure's a bit too close to be comfy with that op, so the quick switch over to the P250 to finish off the rest of the business in a more even turf fight. But still a solid 4K from him indeed, and it's another round on the board for Luminosity.
And then also something you can kind of read in the faces of all these 10 players and the coaches behind them. Like, smiles all around from Luminosity. They feel like they have control over the game. A pause is being taken. That was something that I was kind of wondering about in that first map, like why the coach of EnVy didn't take more, because he's definitely writing stuff down. I see him with that notepad, like writing small tweaks down, but only saw him talking kind of like the freeze time. I think from what I've talked to Bach as well backstage, and he's telling me a lot about this guy, like actually a really, really nice coach, has played at a decent level, knows his way around Counter-Strike. It's not like for him to take more timeouts and just like implement these small tweaks.
It's EnVy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a very familiar name for me, coming from EU, of course.
Yeah, no.
Sorry about that.
He played at a high level for a little bit. Fortunately, never really found much success in that. I think due to a personal choice, he ended up switching to a coach with like about a year or two. It's been pretty prominent since then in the NA scene. We've seen Nifty find the opening pick for EnVy once again. Here, Nifty finding that impact. A few more trades going to be picked up, but still an advantage for EnVy. And more importantly, the bomb goes down on the B site, meaning they have no choice but to commit to this now. They need to at least recover it. But with a man down already, this is going to be a tough ask for Luminosity to get back into this due to that bomb going down.
Nifty on the hunt for more. Got the initial opening, and Cutler now also rotating in with the op. They actually have 3 ops on deck right now on the CT side. Very unusual. And in 3v4, if Luminosity just decides to go like either way, they're going to face up against, if they're lucky, 2 ops in the same site. Because they're playing 2-2 right now, the CTs. If they go towards A, and they get the first opening, the other op is not going to have anything to do. So JDM has to search for these aggressive angles. He's the one on the side right now. The secondary player is holding a bit back.
Meanwhile, the Luminosity need to make a play sometime soon here. Time is getting incredibly low. They don't have any initiation really on either A or B at this point. Yell's going to be walking up from long. Got JDM moving, but JDM, the timing works out very well for him. Ends up walking right into Yell as he pushes out from long. Takes him down just as quick, too. So these last 2, really no choice. The Shadow's going to act as plenty of warning for Nifty there to pick up the kill on Nekkes. And they already know that Henny moved out. They're just having trouble figuring out his exact position, but it's going to be Nifty again that dominates it. A solid 3K from him, the sole defender of Monster, it would seem, and also stops any trace of their opponents getting anything done on that B site for that round.
All right, all they needed was 3 ops, Blue. Just
yeah, just that, yeah.
It's so strange sometimes.
It's real attainable when your economy's getting reset after literally every round you won, except for like 2 or 3 of them.
But I think even though that it's kind of silly that they're winning rounds with 3 ops, I think what it represents is that it's a change in the way that they play CT. They're not forced to do something that's out of the ordinary. They have to go for some more opening duels. They have to play more aggressively. And I think that is the way to handle this Luminosity team when you're playing against them on that T side. And hopefully they can kind of like understand that, and when the match progresses, especially the rest of this half progresses in the last couple of rounds, just make sure that they can at least get 7 rounds with them going over to that second half. Just employ more of these aggressive like peaks, get into the face of the opposition, because if you just allow Luminosity to control the pace of a game, they're just going to run away with it like 9 out of 10 times.
It's been a rocky start for EnVy once again, sadly, as Cutler falls early on. Some damage done to the player that takes him out, but not a significant enough amount to bring him out of the fight, really. 20 HP, still going to be able to play a little bit more aggressively. The Luminosity, in the meanwhile, taking full control of long. Still hold a bit of pressure towards Party, too, where JDM might find some contest in a second here, actually. No, misses it. Lucas gets away for free, taking out JDM in the process. Will be good in a second here to regroup with the rest of his team, or honestly, at this point, just pushing from short. We've only got 1 more player on the A site to deal with. The second's going to be arriving in a moment on rotate as Nifty works his way to the top. They need some op presence here, of course. But Drone is the only other player alive to try and stop the push. He'll be blinded out. Commit himself to wall. Prospect up against the wall. We'll only be able to find one from that position. It's going to have to be Nifty. And Polio now having rotated up, but even Polio falls quickly enough here. So it's down to Nifty once again. Interrupts the plant. Less than 10 seconds to make up for it now, too. Luminosity need to move in right now and force them out. It's going to be Henny that gets the job done with just 6 seconds on the clock.
And once again, it seems like EnVy find a way to get in and get around, break the momentum. And then straight after that, they get smacked down in the ground by Luminosity. It's such a heartbreaking way that this match is progressing. Every single time you think EnVy, okay, they found the recipe. Now they can go in, they can get some rounds in a row, and they can take control of this first half and at least salvage some kind of result. Luminosity just comes in with the perfect counter, smacks him down, and say, okay, yeah, we still got this match on the lock.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the pistol's the only reason EnVy's really even still a contender at this point. If this ends up going, especially if this ends up going 11-4, of course. Simply because of the fact that without that pistol, we would be looking at 11-4 currently. Luminosity having everything go into their favor. And EnVy would have already been out of the game in my eyes if we were sitting at that scoreline. So at least with the pistol, EnVy still has a fighting chance here. But the odds are not good for them now.
Tough times in the EnVy camp. Economical situation also not the best. Just a couple of P250s and a Desert Eagle on Nifty. Lucas with the short smoke. Kind of missed the spot.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's that supposed to block? that's the solid snake smoke. That's
I think you can throw 2 different smokes from that position, and the one that he threw was the magical third one that no one ever throws.
Gotcha. Well, we've got Luminosity working their way into the site, which is the trap. That's what EnVy want. That's a dirty shot as well from Nifty once again, showing us what he's got. At least Nifty's showing up here on this map, which is good to see.
That's like a pixel angle right there. He can probably see 1 or 2 pixels of the opponent's head and still answers straight clean headshot. Nice utility usage here to block off the site, forcing the CTs to move in through the smoke or the Molotov or the flashbang. Like all of a sudden, or just in general, just making sure that every single time you take a duel, you're gonna do it on your territory, your turf, your advantage. Like running through a smoke with a pistol, there's just gonna be no way that JDM can win that. And still, it's just making sure that he has a 100% chance of just winning every single duel he goes into. There's no reason to make this harder than it is. It's a relatively easy round for Luminosity to win. Just throw that extra utility in there so you're 90, 95, 97% sure that you're gonna win every duel and not drop a single weapon.
And so Cutler sits as the last man standing here. An AK in his hand, so we'll probably be trying to save that. Even though we are about to head on to the final round here in a second. But even so, I think saving this might be a little bit too much of a task. He's going to get pushed on by Steel from short. On the B side, that is, and that is going to secure the 10th round once again for Luminosity as we enter the final round of the half.
Good control so far for the Brazilians. Impressed with Yell and Nekis in general. Yell as the new in-game leader, Nekis also in general throughout this match. 17-8. Very nicely done by him, because the 3 other players are the 3 bigger names on this team. So it's always nice to highlight when the lower tier names really bring something extraordinary to the table and ensures a win here. JDM now has to do the exact same thing, but whiffs on the first one. That's a very hard shot to take as well. Still goes for it because he's JDM. He has so much confidence, but at this point, not working out for him.
Has brought Luminosity to a screeching halt at water for right now, but as they do look to run down the timer a little bit more. Nifty, though, walking right up. He's able to find a free pick against Yell. Is going to contend against the bomb carrier in a second here, too, and can drop that onto the ground. Henny even taking the duel, trying to wrap around into a corner now to extend this, and he gets his revenge. Quickly knocks out Nifty and prevents him from doing any further damage here. The team is going to actually quickly follow this up with a push into the B site, too, but that's ill-advised. Only Nekis and Lucas to work together on that. Neck is immediately going down, and Lucas checks out very quickly from that push, going back inside of water instead.
Steel now hoping to find an opening here. Checks toilet, but Cutler so all these footsteps, but somehow, some way, even though he has all the information from the noise, still loses the duel and steals AK-47 straight to the face. And we all know the difference between an M4 and an AK. That 1 bullet headshot That's always unfortunate for the CT.
Steel is doing so much work right now, even though he's only picked up really 1 kill long and just fired some shots from short. You can see the rotate that it drew. EnVy are unsure about where exactly this take is going, and there's good reason to, because this is a very odd way that Luminosity are playing out this round right now, but it's certainly going to play into their favor if they can get into this site. That is the true issue, though. There's still presence at Heaven. They didn't rotate all the way up, and those players that were sitting up top are going to be able to hold off the site, along with the 1 player still on the inside. So once again, we go 5-10 at half, with EnVy lagging behind here on the last round win.
Nice choice by JDM, though, to not completely go for that like fake that Steel was throwing on the opposite side. He's just up there to check it. Okay, there's no push. Then he rotates back onto Heaven and just holds that position with the AWP where he can have the most impact. Correct choice by him. Very nicely played, and will ensure a 5th round for EnVy in a first half where they didn't look very good. So getting 5 on the table is actually quite nice if you look at, in general, how they played this first half. If they can get the pistol now, there's definitely still hope. But Luminosity, without a doubt, looked like the stronger team so far.
We'll just have to kind of sit back and wait and see if EnVy's going to be able to pull it off. 2 of these players come from a roster, if you really kind of hark back to the CLG days, that were pretty good as a team together on upsetting a lot of like European teams on this map. So there is that chance they might bring some kind of spark to the table in this second half, but as you were mentioning, it really kind of has to start out with a pistol. If we look at a clean 2-3-0 start from Luminosity here at 13-5 potentially, then the bells are, for me at least, going to start tolling for EnVy relatively soon, as it's not going to leave them, in my eyes anyway, enough room to get back into this match. But let's see, as it, of course, we'll all start with the pistol.
Let's see what the buy is for now for EnVy. 3 flashbangs, a Molotov, and a smoke. Pretty much the same setup as we saw from the T side of Luminosity. In that first round, take control over short, use the smoke and the flashes to get into towards the side, but Nekis is on fire. 3 quick headshots from him. Drone, Nifty, and Boy all gone down, and Henny and Nekis just locking it down, throwing away the key on that B bomb side. Complete dominance.
Those were all like 1 to 2 shot kills as well. So nothing really that EnVy could do to respond to that. They really just got wrecked on the pistol there. And unfortunately, that is going to set them into a very bad situation here now if they don't immediately bring it back with either a second round force or a very good 3rd round buy, if they're able to put that together.
And you can just see the idea behind the strat that they're running with the Molotov and the smoke and the flashbangs is that you don't allow duels like that to happen. But somehow, some way, Nekis and Henny still makes it happen. Clicks away and just gets instant 1-tap. This round is also going to be pretty quick, as the both teams just meet around the fountain area for some duels.
There you go.
Yell finally getting the 4K.
Wanted to use like a mag and a half in order to get that done, but certainly does the job. Might as well paint your opponent down a little bit there, but that sets up the 2-0 start in the half, and more importantly, the potential 13-5 scoreline, as they've now got it up to 12 for Luminosity. Just 4 more rounds away, and they've got full control of the matchup. But of course, we are going to be having the 3rd round buy come in from EnVy, and it'll give them quite a bit of an arsenal to work with here.
Interesting choice that Luminosity decided to go for 2 MP9 players on full utility instead of upgrading to an M4 and having 1 smoke, 1 flashbang instead. So they're definitely going to go and bank on that more utility to take map control, to just push aggressively and find like specific situations. And they've done that so far. Henny will go down, but look at that from Nekis. Just pushing straight on through in a position where you don't expect an MP9. He has the situational advantage, and now Yell is going to be very happy about the noise that Lucas is making down here, because that has stopped Nifty completely on aggressing towards his position with the AWP. And a 4v4, a lot of map control, especially towards the B side, towards short, has been taken from the CTs. They're now rotating back, making sure that if a hit comes through Monster, they're still going to be able to deal with that. A lot of smokes remaining on the T side, though, so this is a round that could go either way.
And grouping together towards Monster here, they're going to be ready to make a push in a moment. There is a 2-man stack up, which Yell, as we're going to see on the other side of the map, is going to take initiative on his own to be able to knock out the one real lurker that we had from EnVy there. It kills their chances of extracting it from the top side, but look at this boost. It leads to the death of one of their players. Nekis does a good job of holding things together, though. The 2 kills traded out by him will keep Luminosity in a man-advantage position, as Cutler now goes for the 1v2 clutch. Being aggressive about it, though, but it won't work out. Theo will shut him down, and it's now 13-5 with EnVy. Kind of in half-buy territory, but obviously with the scoreline where it is, they're not going to have much of a choice but to force the issue here.
You have to give it to Cutler in that scenario. Like, he's in a 1v2, he makes the only correct choice, which is to go and isolate the first player to make sure that you have a 1v1 with the bomb, and then you can plan it and kind of get that timing, get that dance going. Unfortunately for him, he just loses out in the direct duel. But he makes the right choice strategically in that clutch situation, just loses out in the duel. And sometimes it shows that in Counter-Strike you can make the right choice, but you can still lose out. It happens a lot, more than you think actually.
Still trying to delay things long for as long as he can. But the smoke, that actually works out pretty flush for himself. Lucas, meanwhile on short, working with Yell, are going to try to restrict as much pressure here. Really just trying to lock them in. And so far they've done that job very, very well. It's down to only 2 remaining here for EnVy. One is split off from this fight towards the bottom of Connector, but he's going to be joining in a moment, and he'll go down along with one of their teammate towards Party to push Luminosity again forward up to 14. They get through that anti-eco pretty easily, and since there was a full save for the most part that came in from EnVy, that means all the cards are on the table for this upcoming round.
A couple of encouraging words coming in from Zach. There's no reason to take a timeout. Just get some like short words of positive reinforcement. I don't speak Portuguese, but I can't understand what he was saying. It doesn't really change that much depending on what language you speak. Just keep doing everything you're doing is working. Let's just get this W and go on further in the tournament. And sometimes that's all you need in a setup. Like if everything's working, there's no need to tweak. There's no need to make everything better, because just continuing on the momentum that you have, even though there could be mistakes, and there definitely are small little mistakes on the Luminosity side, there's no need to address that right now from the coach, because they're just winning. Just keep that momentum going. Just make them feel invincible and let them run this through.
Just don't overthink it.
Exactly.
Basically. And we are going to see EnVy playing things nice and slow at the start of the round, so Luminosity really won't be tested here. It's going to be a pretty bland start to the round for the most part, actually, because of this. No aggressive positioning at all from Luminosity. They're remaining, even on the A side of the map, which is a bit rare to see. They're remaining completely held back. They are going to start to throw a little bit of long pressure around now, but besides that, no one trying to take any risks here early on in the round from Luminosity. And that is going to let EnVy slowly, but surely take control of the A side of the map.
Henny down towards Monster, dealing a bit of damage onto Pollo, but also taking a bit himself. Lucas was pushed up towards long. Once again, Cutler loses the duel to the man in the corner. It was the other way around in the first half, but this one, the tables have turned. Yell onto Nifty with the refrag. And the push is going to come towards this A side now. It's
trades, really, that are working out so well here for Luminosity. They lose one aggressive player. Yell's right there to immediately trade it back. Yeah. And we've seen similar things happen earlier on in the round there, too. Steel might be pushed, though, in a second here. He's got Yell supporting from long in the event that he gets pushed. They've got a great crossfire setup here. There's another pickup from Yell. He's going to get pushed in a moment. The trade's there from Steel. Down to only 1 player left now. It's JDM in a 1v3. Less than 10 seconds. He's even thinking about backing away. Oh! Takes Steel out of the air at minimum. Denies the knife kill, but the round is still very much Luminosity's, and that will put them all on map and series point to push them further into this event.
Luminosity with a chance to show that they're showing on day one was not the real strength of this lineup. They can come back and do it in a decided game to grab a spot in playoffs here in Atlanta. EnVy on the other side of things, just like last map, have to grind all the way to OT.
And this is even more of a task.
Yeah.
They at least had a few buffer rounds to work with last half. This time it's literally 10 straight they've got to win out this time. Not going to be looking too encouraging for them at all. But the pressure's working out, or at least it seems to be on short, until Yell puts a bit of a stop to it and evens out the numbers once again. Lucas will steal away 1 player, but overstays his welcome. Nifty trades him out a second later. Puts this into a 2 versus 2, where EnVy's going to take a step back and cool things off for a second, as Pollo has investigated the B site and found it quite empty. So he's more likely to call for his teammate to move in and go for a quick plant here.
And he's been calling this for the last like 20 seconds. I see nothing on B, I see nothing on B, I see nothing on B. Just come here, I'll find a good position for the post plant, and then we can make this 2v2 work. And this is exactly what he's doing. He's pushing out so aggressively, so before the rotation can actually come in and the CTs can hold the side, he's going to be there. The only way that Luminosity could have kind of countered this would be to rotate even faster to a different position, and that's always a gamble. So Neck is now in a 1v2. The money's kind of... He could go for this. I feel like if he gets a free opening, he's going to go for the 1v1. If he doesn't get a free opening, he'll probably save the M4 in the utility, but let's wait and see.
He's going to try his best to pop flash in the smoke to try and support and block off Heaven as well. Gets him behind the pole at least, and the molly should force the pit player off. He's going to try to jump on the fuse to force Nifty into the open, but Nifty still gets the better out of the initial duel. And EnVy do stay alive with that at 6-15. Very small step on the long road to recovery, but they have taken that first step. And now need 9 more rounds straight to trigger OT to keep them alive in this event.
Yeah, they got 5 rounds in a row on Dust 2 in this comeback situation. Now they need more than that to bring it back. Economy-wise, for Luminosity is looking okay. They have the double up setup still, missing some utility, yes, and Lucas is on Desert Eagle, but it's a decent buy going into this one. They're just saying, we want to close this out now. We don't want to have another eco to wait for that perfect buy. We know that what we can do. We know what we're capable of. And Lucas's Deagle might be a game changer here because he doesn't feel like there's too much invested into him, so he can go aggressive and find a very unusual angle. Just hold the pressure here down towards underground. Henny finds one, and now damage being done. 2 players down, and Luminosity now 3 kills away from winning the series 2-0.
He's got a good lock on positions here for EnVy too. Drone has to force in from Monster here, and Polio is trying his best to support that from Construction. But Luminosity have now backed up. They're going to let EnVy take these initial staging grounds at both Construction and Water. They just don't want to take any further risks. They've got a 5v3. A few players have taken damage on Luminosity's side, so let's just play it safe for now. Let's back up, play to the numbers advantage. They know EnVy has to take the next step here, especially with the time getting to where it is now at 45 seconds.
What's the play here for EnVy? Just hold your ground and then your timing push, but then this can happen. You're opening yourself up to these flanks. And Neck is, being a Luminosity player, he's going to push out and seek every single extra point of opportunity he can find. And now, on an off angle, he's going to be caught off time.
That's awkward.
By Drone. 2v4 still. Lots of work to do.
Drone, you can see, is so hesitant to move into this site, but they have to commit to it now. 15 seconds remaining. The plant's got to go in. They haven't even checked pit yet, so Steel could throw a big wrench in this. The plant going down. I don't think Steel heard it, but he's going to spam into it anyway. The bomb does go onto the ground, but it does not matter, ladies and gentlemen. Luminosity easily put down the offensive strike coming in from EnVy, and with that, eliminate EnVy from the event, keeping LG alive and pushing them forward in 2-0 fashion, taking control of both Dust 2 and this map, of course, on Overpass. For EnVy, it's a discouraging start, unfortunately, but we'll have to see how they bounce back in the future.
We saw some glimmers of hope when we saw where the players individually can step up. We saw a couple of rounds where Cutler and Drone specifically played really well. We saw JDM with that 4K. We also saw Nifty with a couple of great plays. So we see the kind of potential of EnVy, but we haven't really seen the realistic kind of setup where, okay, how far can they go? Because this has definitely not been the showing that they wanted, that's for sure.
And once again, though, for EnVy, it's very early days for this team.
Anything can still happen.
Having formed as recently as they did, there's no reason for them to worry, just as of yet. The pressure's not really on for them. But it was just a good event for them to try things out of land, so we're going to see how they adjust in the future is basically the takeaway for me.
Yeah, we can adjust as well and throw it over to Trace and the guys on the desk.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just say this right now. In no way, shape, or form should the pressure not be on any team to compete at any level. That's garbage. But anyway, let's carry on with this. That was not okay by EnVy, and of course, they had a tough time here. What do we think it was?
I mean, I think it's just the same problems they've been having online leading into this event. Like, they don't get consistent performances from anybody on the team. I don't think that the roles make sense on this team. You have Nifty on your team. He's not opping or in-game leading. Obviously, we saw him with the second op on CT side on Overpass, but it's not his primary role because that's what JDM's doing. So I think those two coexisting on the team at the same time just is really difficult. I think it's putting Nifty in a really weird spot. And again, I just don't think they have like a star player they can rely on. Like, so in the first map, Cutler actually played really well. He was actually stepping up and doing some pretty good work. Second map, Nifty was actually doing pretty well on Overpass overall. But again, when you flip the maps, they weren't really showing up on the other end. So again, like, I think it's just kind of a culmination of what EnVy's really been dealing with ever since this team formed, which is just, you know, don't really seem to have the right pieces. Like, you have too many of one thing and not enough of another.
And then those pieces aren't performing well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you look at the highlights, yeah, we saw some big rounds coming in from a couple of players on Dust 2 for EnVy. Like, Cutler and Drone really were the shining stars.
Sure.
Some of the only reasons they were able to pick up some rounds. They were the only 2 players, I think, plus 20 kills. Then if you look at LG, multiple players, almost everyone. Henny was the only one. He had 19 kills, so he's just short. Everyone else had 20 plus kills.
And the top fragger had 23, so it's only a 4-kill spread from the top fragger and bottom fragger, and everyone's producing. And listen, on Overpass, everyone produced pretty well for Luminosity as well. I mean, Lucas is a little quiet, but still, I mean, all 5 of their players were playing really, really well. On Dust 2, they actually had a 15-6 lead. They had a lot of slight comeback, but I think that the score that people will see at the end of the day is a little bit deceptive. Like, EnVy wasn't really in that game. They weren't really threatening Luminosity. They just kind of thought they left the gas pedal. Meanwhile, on Overpass, they just took care of business. 16-6. They didn't allow, EnVy any leeway back into the game. Definitely cleaned up nicely. I think the one thing to think about, though, is like, yeah, Luminosity beat EnVy the best of 3. Congratulations. Like, we still need to see more from this team going forward because it definitely has been tough times for them coming into this tournament.
Well, the numbers are going to speak for themselves. Neck is finding himself a fantastic pistol round, and, well, that probably boistered that ADR just a little bit. Either way, I mean, moreover, we're going to get into an interview here with Steel. That's who we're going to have the pleasure to speak with. Of course, the man with the smiles to go around the world for miles. Mr. Steel, congratulations on surviving this far. You've got one more coming your way, but congratulations, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much, man. It was a tough match, as always.
Yeah, I mean, listen here, Steel. We know that times have been a little bit tough over there for Luminosity lately with some of the online pro leagues and kind of how things went at Chicago and even just after the Valencia success, things haven't really been the same. I know that you guys have been changing roles up a lot. Like, you seem to be playing a different role than you kind of were more known for in the history of CS. We've seen, like, Henny and Yell kind of bouncing back and forth who's primary opping. Even Lucas has been in new spots. It looks from the outside that there's, like, some panicking going on. Like, you're having to make these internal adjustments. Is there a sense of panic on the team because of how things have been going?
I mean, there's no sense of panic, but, yeah, we did great on Valencia, and we tried to do the same. So we were practicing. We were doing, like, everything we can. We practiced like even harder than like all of my previous teams. So because of that, we tried to switch roles and like switch everything to see what was going on. But still, like it's not like good enough. But it seems like we're getting better. We did good on the Chicago.
Now, coming into that series, EnVy does not really play Overpass, like almost ever. Mm-hmm. Were you surprised that they allowed that map to sneak through in the vetoes?
Actually, we were a lot, because we thought they would pick like Mirage or Cache, which has been like our worst maps, if I'm not mistaken. I know that Mirage is for sure, but I'm not sure about Cache, like looking at our stats. So when they like didn't ban Overpass, it has to be our pick, because it's a map that we like to play, and we have been practicing a lot.
So we know that Yell has kind of taken over the primary in-game leader position. That's kind of the other big role change that kind of taken place. And I know that's something that you were kind of formerly doing. And I know that with Yell, it seems like you guys are playing a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more loose. Do you think that this is going to continue to be the case for Luminosity going forward? Or are you still kind of experimenting on what type of style you guys want to have?
Actually, I think it will be like Yell is going to be calling like... of course, for the rest of the tournament and for the next months, because when I was calling, I was trying to be like a lot structured, but I think that our team, our players, like individually, they are not that type of player, and doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean that they are bad. It's just like the way you see Counter-Strike and the way you like to play. It has to be more loose. With like the Twins and Neckers, they like to play more aggressive, and maybe because of that, it was not like working in the online season. And when we switched to like to Yell, to like this free and like this loose style, it's getting better.
Well, Lucas, I want to ask you a much more broad question about. Dare I say, what's his first name?
Sorry.
Gotcha. Haha. No, I want to ask you a much more broad question at this point about what do you think of the Brazilian scene as a whole? I mean, we have championship caliber teams. What is your picture right now of the Brazilian scene?
Oh, it's getting a lot better, because like last year or even a few months ago, people were not able to play Counter-Strike professionally in Brazil, but right now they have like gaming houses, good organizations like giving them salary and everything, because a few months ago people had to work, study, and play like Counter-Strike until late night so they can practice like 3 hours a day. So I think that we're gonna have like a lot of good teams in the next year because of that, because now they can like play for a good amount of hours, even like living in Brazil, which was impossible. And we have a lot of good teams like playing North America, which are Brazilians.
Well, even in regards to the teams that are North America, I mean, you could look and talk about INTZ, we could talk about your friends over at MIBR. What would you say in terms of the top tier of the professional Brazilian scene?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best like season or the best year for the Brazilian scene, talking internationally, talking about MIBR. But INTZ like did a great season, especially because it was their first season, and they have players that have never played like an international tournament before. So because of that, they are doing like super good, and I think they're gonna keep doing great.
Awesome. Well, I know you've got a big plate of food ahead of you today, another matchup, but we're going to let you go. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys.
Be seeing you later, Steel. Guys, anything we can take away from that one before we go ahead and head out of here?
I mean, I love the fact that they were surprised that Overpass snuck through. So it didn't just make us look stupid when Overpass was not banned, because it surprised even the team they were playing against, who's like, wow, they actually are going to let us play this map? Like, that's foolish. It was a huge mistake.
Yeah, I think it was cool to hear from Steel, always very transparent. I think it was cool to kind of hear his take on why they've been making all these adjustments and how he thought that, you know, I want to be a structure guy. That doesn't work for these players. We're trying a different approach. And I like that approach rather than just kind of being stubborn, running your head up against the wall and never making any progress. So hopefully we'll see how that plays out in their favor going forward.
They say only time will tell. Well, time keeps on going, and it stops for no man. In fact, we do have another matchup. It's going to be Fraxters and Vitality, everyone wanting to see how this French team can kind of come together here on this second day of the DreamHack Open Atlanta. But first, let me tell you about our friends over the Strafe Esports app. Strafe Esports app provides a broad esport experience on mobile, and it helps you to keep up with all games that are esports, to include everything going on here in Atlanta. So make sure you have it on your app, on your phone. Make sure you have that as you're roaming around your village, your town, wherever you find yourself, dare I say. I mean, people still live in villages, right? Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, we're going to go to break. We come back. We've got a matchup to be rivaled with the best of them. It's going to be a best of 3 in an elimination game between the Fraxters and Vitality. So make sure you're with us when we come back.
Place your bets at GG.bet. Most popular esports titles. Deposit with convenient payment options. Cool mini games. And 24/7 support for players. Sign up now for the best esports bets at GG.bet.
Grab your gear and let's go.
With the Strafe Esports app, follow your favorite teams and players, and you'll never miss a match again. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.
Oh, crap.
Digital Pass, bringing the arena to you. Experience CSGO from the player's point of view. Check out the exclusive content and don't miss the highlights. We have everything in one place.
Return of confidence. Oh!
It's the better way to watch CSGO. Your exclusive ticket to esports. Get your Digital Pass now.
We spend 1/10 of our lives socializing with family and friends. We spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping. We spend almost half of our lives sitting down. So if sitting down is so important to us, shouldn't we make sure to sit with the most comfort? Then there is only one clear choice.
Crank it up. Crank it up.
Where they're going. That is true for those who don't know what they want to achieve. Is it about the journey? That depends on the destination.
Terlihat pemuda yang sedang letih lelah habis meeting harga cabai keriting yang di rebonding. Nah, ada Maison, minum dulu kali ya. Jepret! Jadi bisa semangat terus dah. Hehehe. Akhirnya datang juga kepastiannya. Gerakan yang sangat cepat dari kubu kiri, tengah, atas, tenggara, barat, laut membuat situasi menjadi tidak kondusif. Sungguh membingungkan ini saudara-saudara. Oh, apa yang terjadi? Serangan gatal merasuki jiwa dan raganya. Namun apa daya? Untung tadi minum Maison jadi bisa tetap semangat meski dalam ujian yang berat. Ulalala, sekarang terlihat sebuah peluang. Dan ya, ditarik, diangkat, ditarik, berhasil kan dia? Tergaruk. Kerek. Aduh, enak, lega. Kita lihat lagi pemirsa dalam tangan ulangnya. Sebuah upaya menjawab keraguan dengan keyakinan. Ini wajib diberikan apresiasi. Siapa kita? Sang juara. Mau jadi juara? Tinggal garuk aja. Tungguin bis Maison, garuk memenangkan hadiahnya. Maison bantu siapa balikin semangat lo buat menang terus.
Bayangkan kalau ada dompet yang bisa mengubah hidup kita jadi simpel. Dompet yang bisa mengubah cara bertransaksi. Sekarang, bayangkan kalau dompet itu nyata untuk kita gunakan. Inilah Dana, dompet digital Indonesia.
sister.
DreamHack Open is brought to you by Astro.